time, finally, for another season of Creator Series, Season 5 right now. It's been 2 years since we started this project, 2 years of mesmerizing driving and indeed treacherous crashes as well. We will get, no doubt, a mix of both of those in tonight's show at Monte Carlo with some ice as well. And joining me today in the commentary box is Mr. Gareth Allen. How are you doing today?
Yeah, pleasure to be here. Didn't realise I was going to be on the airs waves, as you can tell, until very late on, because I've called it airs waves instead of airwaves. Yeah, no, pleasure to be here. Lovely to be on a WRC broadcast. I'll be pressing the buttons in the background, so if there's anything wrong with the broadcast, please shout up or keep the comments to yourself, depending on how bad they are. And yeah, no, I'm really excited for this. Season 5 of the Creator Series, you know, going into the second year of WRC on our channel, you know, with the game improving, with the DLCs dropping very recently, the Maestros, some of those stages on offer tonight as well. It's going to be fascinating to see how our creators do.
Yeah, with those new stages, which we are going to see multiple times tonight, as you said, it's going to be so tricky for the creators to adapt to it. Some of them have driven them before on the previous broadcast that we did for the WRC stuff, and other people will be discovering them for the first time on ice in Rally 2 cars. Let me just say that's possibly one of the most tricky combos that could be chosen. So shout out to Punju for that. I'm sure he's laughing in the background tonight, seeing as he's not on the podcast.
Do you think that was on purpose? He's like, "Oh, sorry guys, I can't race tonight." He did one test run. We're on record. He was like, "Oh no, I've made a huge mistake."
He's flown too close to the sun on this one. But that does mean that for tonight we get great entertainment for sure. There may be a few DNFs, there always is in Monte Carlo. So there's that to look forward to. But talking about the new stages, they're quite sort of risk versus reward, really, as you've got a lot of rocks and, you know, objects in general to avoid. Some signposts I saw in practice as well that are very last minute spots if you're going flat out. And yeah, they're great new stages, and I just can't wait to see how people will tackle them, because obviously it's good when you're doing maybe like a multiplayer session, for example, where you can repair the damage at the end of the stage. But in Creator Series, we have to do at least 2 stages between the service areas, so we've got to take a little bit of less risks and sort of draw that pace back a little bit, be a bit more consistent. So, you know, it's always a difficult thing on broadcast to keep that pace and to think about you've only got one opportunity at it. And I think we are already into the stage, and that's not gone well for a start for Rift Blondie, not having the wheel centered. I will say that's happened way too many times to all of us in our sim racing careers, but that's not the start she would have wanted right there.
She knew straight as well, you could hear it. She said, "Oh, I've messed up already. The wheel isn't centered." And yeah, I think everyone's done that at least once or twice. I didn't think we'd be kicking off the Creator Series with a dive into the starting gantry, though. That's something that no one had on their bingo card, I'm sure. But here we are, Rally Monte Carlo, and this is one of the new stages, and that's one of the new cliffs.
That might be a DNF. Is it going to be a reset? Oh, no. No way. I cannot believe it for Rift Blondie. She was so nervous going into these stages, saying that she just had to get confident, get into the flow of things. But Monte Carlo, once again, does not give any excuses to any to literally any level of talent or creators. It will just kick you when you're down. And as you saw right there, just a tiny little mistake, maybe a little bit of frustration off of the line, it just compounds into more and more mistakes. But yeah, Rift Blondie will have, thankfully, a few updates ago, we are allowed to restart after the next service, so that won't be the last you're seeing of Rift Blondie, but not the start she would have wanted.
Absolutely. Ryan Littlemore now with a very low quality stream going through at the moment. Hopefully we can sort that out in the background a little bit, but he's now in a position to tackle the stage, and he's made it to the first sector marker in 4 frames a second. That's very powerful for him, but he's made it this far, so good for him, and it's good to see some new faces. I know Ryan did a couple of stages last season, but some new faces coming into the Creator Series and the WRC scene.
Yeah, Ryan contacted me probably about 6 months ago now to do some inquiring about the rally streams, and he was really really interested, coming from a background of sort of endurance sim racing, the LMP stuff, and now the hypercars and all of that. It's a very different thing to get involved in. So it's been really, really encouraging to see his sort of progression in terms of riding. You could see there just from the footage, he's getting more and more confident in the cars, in the driving, and listening to the pace notes. And another one of our regulars here that you're seeing is Jam, who has got his sunglasses on, I think, for this stage. But he's settling into things as well, has Jam. He's improved so much in his driving. And I must say, for all of our content creators out here, they are really, really sort of settling into the elements, especially the ones who are least used to rallying. They've really upped their game in the last couple of seasons, to the point where I think now we have drivers who are capable of fighting in the sort of top 100 overall in these clubs, reminding people that normally over 500 people participate in these clubs every single week. So a top 100 is a great result in these clubs, and they will certainly be gunning for better results this season.
Yep, and shout out to Jam, the only person actually running the Citroen today. Everyone else has gone for the boring meta choices of the Toyota and the Skoda. So shout out to Jam, he's giving something else a go, which is always nice to see. We have Quantin with completely the wrong camera on. That's obviously GJ, but you can see Quantin in the top left-hand corner, and you can see Vlembar getting on the way as well in the bottom right-hand corner.
Indeed. So, spoiler alert, we do have GJ tonight, as you could probably see. But yeah, Contan returning as well, and he'll want to win this one because effectively it's a home rally for him, being French. So, Rally Monte Carlo, you might think it's run around Monte Carlo. Actually, it's run more near Gap in the French Alps. So the French do consider this sort of a secondary home rally if there's no Rally France, which there isn't currently on the WRC calendar. So they'll be wanting to absolutely get the most out of this one. And he's so fast on tarmac, it must be said. So he'll be wanting to just start the season off with probably a victory. And I'm sure there's other people like Vlembar that you see on the right, and EXR Kamikaze, among others, that will want to deny him of that sweet victory.
Yeah, absolutely. He's here, and he's going to put in some really, really fast times. He could be, straight away, you could put him in the ring for that Creator Series champion crown, certainly coming up. So let's just see how he attacks these stages. Let's see how he gets through the first few rounds, because of course it can make or break your season. The first few rounds, if you're nowhere points wise, then you're not going to be able to catch up. Kamikaze, he's had a few rocky seasons, but last season just seemed to hook it up over the first few rounds, and those points came in desperately handy towards the end, especially when he was limping on, let's say, with a damaged limb.
Yeah, it was a very, very impressive season, sort of reminiscent of Sebastian Loeb in 2006 when he broke his, was it leg or was it an arm that he broke? I can't remember exactly, but had to sit 4 rounds of the season out. And so Kamikaze not breaking anything, but definitely sprained his ankle and couldn't get many points. But it was, as you said, the start of the championship, he was just inch perfect, and he just managed to gain the maximum points and just walked away with it. This year, obviously, Contant. The funny thing about Contant is world champion of Rallycross and in Dirt Rally 2. And the funny thing is, he was saying to me the other day, "Oh, I'd love to win Creator Series. It would be brilliant if I could actually get a victory on that one." So the Creator Series having an effect even on esports drivers, and it's lovely to see the sort of friendly competition that this series has created. And it's always lovely to chat to the drivers before the sessions and before they attempt their runs, because they always have a different perspective about everything. Not one single driver will always tell you the same as everybody else. They've all had their little ups and downs, problems with the setup, or like incertitudes of the stages, and that's what makes the uniqueness of this series.
Absolutely. Also, great to have people in chat over on Twitch. Sorry, guys, on YouTube. All 6 of you were in the Twitch chat. That's the one I'm monitoring tonight. But nice to see some first-time chatters. Also, Ambient Mike coming back. And, Kamikaze having a little bit of a moment with the shortcut marker there, but quickly back on his way. So that's all good. But, yeah, Ambient Mike saying, shame to not see Punju and Aerotex tonight. Yes, of course, Punju will. Aerotex elsewhere. But I'm sure they'll be back on a broadcast very, very soon.
Indeed, we will see them, and they're obviously some of the fan favourites, and no doubt they'll have put their runs in off camera this time, but we'll get a chance to speak to them in subsequent weeks, and I can't wait for that as well. As you can see on these stages, very, very tricky sort of changes in momentum. You can see on Content Olmo's perspective, you go into a very open section mid-stage, while you wind up the hill back onto the snow in a minute that you can see just in the distance there. For Kamikaze, he's going a little bit, he's a bit earlier in the stage. He's just about to come out onto that sort of plateau section. And you switch between very sort of twisty mountain roads with barriers, and afterwards, when you go up into the mountain, it becomes very twisty again. So this stage just challenges you all the way up with ice at the end as well. So, you know, they're making it look easy, but most definitely the changing grip with the snow there, as you can see, Content about to go onto the ice, becomes shiny there. You can see it. And from now on, you basically have no traction, no braking, and you have to really, really work hard to get those last couple of seconds out of this stage.
Yeah, absolutely. Phil and IRC JPH out there as well on this this fairly long stage here. Is it one of our longest? I think it may be joint longest with the actual return leg for this that we do later on. But yeah, they're out there. JPH rocking a new TV. Also going to have a new wheel very soon, so that's going to be exciting for him. And Phil out there just working that shifter, as you can see.
Yeah, IRC JPH has been wanting to update his equipment for a while now. I think he thinks it's been holding him back. I think he's still on good old Logitech equipment, so he's definitely been getting the maximum out of it. And you know, it's always good to see drivers showing that equipment in rally is basically 1%. The rest of it is driving, and the rally is sort of the great leveler between drivers in terms of just raw pace and consistency. So yeah, for all of you using Logitech or Thrustmaster equipment, some of the non sort of direct drive equipment, just know that you can set great times on whatever equipment that you have.
I'm going to say any excuse I get to say it, the GOATed G29 will live on forever, at least in my heart. And yeah, so impressive drivers on that kind of equipment. Thinking of iRacing, Emil Bernstoff, the ex-GP2 and GP3 driver, he rocked a G27 for a very, very long time before switching over the DD. So, you know, it's the equipment can bring you temps, but it's all about the skill you put into it, really. That really is the thing that matters the most. So, yeah, impressive from JPH. I think he's upgrading to a different Logitech wheel, the Logitech Pro Series wheel, so that will be a nice little upgrade for him as he's been impressive on the equipment he has at the moment.
Yeah, very talented driver, and you can just see with his camera the ease with which he navigates the corners. He never gets flustered really during the stages. Even if it goes wrong, he's just very calm on the wheel and just maximizes the car, especially these four-wheel drive cars. He seems to be absolutely rapid in these cars, and you can see just navigating that bridge as if it was absolutely nothing. He's about to come to the icy section in a second, so we might see that sort of driving style change a little bit mid-stage here, getting ever so close to that telegraph pole or whatever that is. Maybe it's an electrical pole there, not quite sure. But yeah, it's ever so tricky as the grip changes, as the elevation changes. This stage, Entre Briançonnet, one of the stages which the drivers in real life said is one of the most challenging. So it's great to see it in game, to be fair. And as you said before, Gareth, it is one of the longest stages. There's only one stage longer that we have tonight, which is La Bâtie-Neuve. Just trying to get the name. La Bâtie-Neuve Saint-Léger-les-Mélèzes, which is 16 kilometers. This stage is 14 kilometers, so very, very long, both of them.
I'm glad you're pronouncing that, not me. I'm going to leave all of the pronunciations to the man who resides in France. I will just butcher it. I mean, I can speak English, which is French spoken badly, but I cannot pronounce French names very well. Col de Turini, I can do that one. We'll get to that one later on, won't we? I know that one for the Tour de France.
10 out of 10, yes, pronounced perfectly. So, yes, this broadcast going swimmingly well, as they say. International languages here are welcome, as they say. But as you can see, IRC JPH just clipping there a little bit the rocks. you do have to be careful. They can give you a puncture quite easily. So he's just trying to sort of shorten the course as much as possible. When you're lacking in traction and you're going quite slow, you can just be tempted to take a little bit of a cut. And the problem is with the ice, I think, as Ancephalosis has just found out, you can get stuck on some of the rocks. And he's had to take a reset penalty there, which will be quite frustrating for him. But yeah, these cars are run quite low to the ground, so for aerodynamic purposes, obviously. But it does mean that maybe compared to some of the older cars, you cannot take the cuts like you can with some cars that need to be run with a higher ride height.
Yep, so a few of our drivers finding the limits to this track some more than others, let's say. We'll try and catch up with Riff Blondie as she'll have a whole stage to actually wait after this one before she can rejoin at the next services. So yeah, you know, the limited grip is very, very on a nice edge. Well, there is no grip up here, let's face it, and especially as you start to get onto worn tyres. Of course, you've done nearly 14 kilometres at this point. The tyres start to go off a little bit. That all adds to this lack of traction that they face up there. But JPH has been just super consistent so far up here, and I hope I've not jinxed him.
Yeah, he's certainly taking all the risks out there, it must be said. He's just getting so close to many barriers and rocks, and that's the thing on these stages. If you know them oh so well, you can go ahead and take these kind of risks. But if it's your first time on the stages, or you're not happy with the setup, or the tires are going off, just one little slip and you're going sideways, and there's nothing you can do about it from that point onwards. So I think a lot of people copying a setup that I saw earlier on in the Discord. So possibly a lot of people will be having the same type of handling. So if we start seeing people having a problem on one corner, it's possible that multiple people will have a problem just down to the setup. Although, having driven the setup, it felt pretty good, so we might see some very fast times on this one.
Yeah, let's stay with JPH as he comes towards the flying finish here. Just a small part of this final sector left, and I think he could be very happy with this time if he keeps it calm and collected for the next series of turns. And you can see the I shouldn't have said it. I shouldn't have said it, should I? Why did I say it?
Good job. Now he reversed across the line. Oh, he's not at the finish line.
He's not quite the line there. Now it's at the flying finish. Sorry,
yeah,
mate. That was me. I'll take full blame for that one.
You could see it going wrong in the previous corner because he was forced out wide, just carrying a bit too much speed. That meant that it was an early apex to the corner which he crashed at, and he drifted wide and just too wide into the rocks. And yeah, so once you start accelerating, you just have to keep your foot on the throttle a little bit, otherwise you keep sliding anyway. And thankfully, I don't think too much damage done. It was quite a low speed impact, and the car spun around on the ice, so not too bad, but not the start he would have wanted, especially seeing as he probably lost 10 seconds in there, so that could have been way faster.
I think he could have been about top 5 there, maybe even top 4. You know,
I'm from Quentin.
I
just want to point out 10 seconds.
Can we put him in the creator standings? After one stage, that he's just blown the field away. That's a gap you have at the end of the rally, not at the end of stage 1.
I must admit, I am surprised. I know he's fast on tarmac, but that is a champion's drive right there, and one that Kamikaze and Blembar will have to look out for. So Ancephalosis, just looking off screen here, has just so nearly crashed at the same place that JPH crashed at. So a lot of drivers getting caught out by that, but it does seem like quite a few drivers are completing the stages now. I think we've got Ryan completing stage 2.
Oh yeah, I've completely missed stage 2 here.
It's a very short stage, only 4 minutes in distance, so it's the shortest stage of the night this evening. Ancel, and yeah, a lot of drivers are very familiar with this stage because it's kind of the testing stage for setups, effectively, and the one that people try and have a crack at the world record at. So yeah, Ancephalosis just outside the top hundreds there, I think, just behind his webcam. So not too bad. You know, he had a few mistakes there, a reset penalty. So a good start to the evening. He'll be looking to improve, that's for sure.
Yep, so we could probably go and see Quentin out on Ancel at the moment, this second stage. And he'll be coming towards the end of it as well, because he's one of the earlier runners here in the Creator Series. We do have staggered start times But sometimes with a longer stage and a shorter stage back to back, does means that you'll miss the shorter stage if you watch one to the end. But yeah, I mean the speed he's carrying here is just phenomenal, even if it is in 160p. I apologise for that. Hopefully the stream will pick up in just a moment, but. Maybe it's just motion blur. Maybe it's just motion blur. He's just super committed here through this final part of Ansel here.
Yeah, it's as if someone's taken off their glasses, the stream, let's just put it that way. But that's good. It means that you can't see what you're going to hit, which is in running can be a benefit, to be honest. But you can see Contan just taking all of the track limits here, just maximizing the speed. That is an incredible run. That last section's so difficult.
It's just mind-blowing. That it's so technical, that run, especially downhill into the kind of tight, twisty streets there. And I've done it, and I'll just clip a curb, whatever. He's thinking 3 or 4 corners ahead, and he just knows it. He's hooked in. You almost don't need the stage notes at that point, and just putting in a superb time. Not the fastest on that stage, so maybe a little mistake from him, but he's still in a super good position here, especially for the broadcast. Shout out to Ambient Mike. There we are, 4th position for him. Big shout out for him. He's smashed that stage as well.
Yeah, it looks like a mistake in Sector 2. If you looked at the sector times there, he'd lost about 3 seconds in Sector 2. So maybe just clipping something at the end of the ice or going into the flat-out town section. It's very easy to just clip something with a rear corner. So yeah, it's something to watch out for in this stage. It's a very fast stage, and so you've got to sort of curb your expectations a little bit.
Yeah, Vlembar already finishing here. Kamikaze coming to the line. Split 3:57 for him.
Stage 1.
So he's also come to finish 3 seconds faster than Vlembar actually.
Yeah.
So yeah, good time there from Kamikaze, the champion of the Creator Series, reigning champion of the Creator Series, the broadcast champion that is. But Vlembar coming in 14th, and yeah, again, just Ambient Mike, super impressive time there. Maybe this is a stage which he's practiced well. I know he's in chat. But yeah, absolutely smashed it on that one.
Yeah, it's game on at the front, though, between Content de l'Olmo, Kamikaze, and Vlembar, that's for sure. So this will be really interesting, because we all know that the first stage, you're ready to go. Probably you've practiced that one just before starting your broadcast, and now you've got 7 extra stages to do, and that's when reality sets in. Actually, more than that, you've got 10 stages to do. I miscounted on RaceNet. I couldn't see all of the stages there, but reality sets in, and it dawns on you, hang on a minute, I've got to do other stages which I haven't practiced, or which the setup is not perfectly sort of tuned in for, and that's when you can sort of reveal some sort of weak points in your driving or in your preparation, and it can be quite a daunting thing if you set the fastest time and then all of a sudden the errors and mistakes start creeping in, or people start going faster than you. It's a lot of pressure on the controller. Oh no, JPH! He nearly recovered it straight into the trees. He'd almost got it back on the road, and then the car just snapped again, and another correction, pile driving straight into the trees. Hopefully no radiator damage. I don't know how that Skoda's built like a tank. So, yeah, that's incredible durability.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, with how high speed that collision was, where it was, I've come across not to skate by. It's just got to get through this final technical section, and then he'll be into a service, so hopefully be able to fix that damage. But a save, even though it was a crash. But I tell you what, maybe we should get our first interviews in and reach out to Kamikaze, our reigning champion, and see how he's doing.
Indeed. Welcome to the commentary booth. How's it going? We saw a brief mistake on stage 1 with some anti-cut marker. What happened there? Was it just some sort of overconfidence on the inside?
It was a rock there. He named us a rock.
Have you given it a pet name, the rock?
Yeah, the rock. No, in Monte Carlo, it's some anti-cut markers. It's actually specs in the Toyota. You can't actually cut because the stones. So yeah, there it is.
But overall, you're quite happy with your pace, I'd expect. You're ahead of Vlembar, just behind Content del Olmo, so all going to plan so far?
Yeah, we try to stay on the road, middle of the road. We're not pushing. We just try to survive.
What's your
So,
expectations for this season, Cammy? What are we doing? Are we winning?
this
We winning
season,
again, back to back?
yeah,
First one.
this season or this rally?
This rally, this season,
Oh.
everything. Your
Yeah.
year. Tell me what's 2025 is going to be like.
2025.
It's a year of all
Family, vacation, some sun. Yeah. No, we tried to fight for this title this year and this season, but in Monte Carlo we have no chance. Too little preparation, and I don't like this rally, so we take what we get and have fun.
Well, currently it's at P2, so that's actually pretty good for the moment.
I'm P2 overall.
But P2 in the Creator Series standings, I mean.
Oh yeah.
That's the only thing that matters. Those RaceNet
So-
losers, put them in the bin.
Yeah.
I mean, 5 overall in terms of RaceNet standings as well, so it's not bad on that front either.
No, but we can just hope for the best and try to stay on the road. We all saw what happened with Rift, and that's so easy to do on Monte Carlo, especially in some stages. It's not forgiving, so we just try to stay on the road.
Yeah, quite a few drivers having a few incidents. RCJPH nearly getting a DNF as well from sliding down the road. He had a huge off toward the end of Ancel, going downhill into the town, just getting onto the grass and having to correct and straight into the trees. So, yeah, it seems to me like everybody is just trying to play it cautious and getting caught out by various elements.
Yeah, and I also heard Blembar had some problem on the last stage in the downhill section before the town. So, yep, he had some incidents as well. So we just crossed our fingers.
Yeah, well, fantastic to hear from you, and I'm sure we'll catch up with you later on.
Thank you.
Yeah, he's hoping other people have problems. You hear that? If Blembar's had a few issues, let's hope there's some more issues. So
He's playing the exact playbook like he did last season, to be fair. Just set a time. It's good enough for a top 3 and let everybody else make the mistakes early on in the season. So, it worked for him once. There's no reason why it won't work twice.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe we grab IRC JPH in for an interview. He always tells me off about calling him IRC JPH. That's his clan tag, isn't it, basically? JPH. We'll get JPH in for a little interview. If only to apologise for what I did to him on the first stage, because I was saying how well you were doing, how controlled that stage had gone.
Right then, should we go to the start in a minute?
Yeah, he smashed it. Is he here? Can he hear us? I don't know if he can
I'm
hear
not
us. to be
sure he
honest.
can hear us.
JPH, we love you. Please come to us. Please join us in the booth.
I
I don't think he's going to join us.
Yeah, they're avoiding the interview. It's like when the drivers scurry around the back of the team trailer just to not talk to the to the medias and all of that, which is fair enough.
Well,
But,
he's about to start a stage anyway, so
yeah, he's about to start. So I can imagine he just wants to get refocused. You want to sort of like think about what happens, think about what he could have done differently, and that's a good sight that I like to see Rift Blondie back on the stages. The good news for Rift Blondie is she can now have a lot of fun and enjoy it because the overall time is not really there anymore, but she always has a lot of fun doing a 360, for the fans, obviously. There's a bench there, which if anybody was sat there, it would be a great way to get good POV footage from it, that's for sure. But yeah, she'll have a lot of fun now just learning different ways to drive the car. I don't think she's driven 4-wheel drive cars in Monte before, and that setup is looking very oversteery, I must say. Very fun from my perspective. Maybe not so fun from somebody who's not confident at Monte Carlo.
Yep. Again, shout out to the evil genius Punju for putting this combination together and then effectively buggering off to where he is now. So shout out to him. Ryan has gone over the line as well for stage 3 too, so the first finishers are through on that stage as well, and we'll be able to catch their times very soon.
I don't know how long I have until the next
Yeah, trying to find their times before they've Ryan's starting the next stage immediately. I will try and find his time. But yeah, in essence, I mean, for most of the drivers, they'll just be settling in. It's only stage 3, and it's quite short stages as well. The stages get a little bit longer towards the tail end of the rally. So, it's all preparatory work, and they're getting used to the tires. One of the things they really have to worry about is tire wear, because with so much power, so much speed in the corners, those studded tires that they'll be using will wear very, very fast on these downhill tarmac sections. A bit like in real life, you have to sort of manage your tire wear, manage your aggressiveness on the non-icy parts. And you can see Contan there just getting caught out a little bit by a snap of oversteer mid-corner there, but he's flying. He's using all of the track limits, all of the tricks in the books, and this is probably another fastest stage time. If I refresh the page over here, let's have a look. Hasn't registered yet, but yeah, he's just on one today.
When those studs do wear off the tire, is that better grip on the, let's say, well, obviously not the snowy parts of the stages, but the dry part of the stages, the parts of the stages that aren't icy, or does it just overall make the grip worse, even on the kind of areas where necessarily you wouldn't need spikes normally?
Well, if there's no ice at all, ripping the studs out of the tires in real life is better, because you effectively have a cut slick, like a rain slick, effectively at that point. But there are problems with that. It can damage the tire. Ripping the studs out can break the rubber apart, and so you can get a lot of degradation in the tire or overheating in the tire because it's moving about a lot. If you wear the studs down to the point where they're barely making contact with the ground, that's probably the best compromise if there's a tiny bit of ice left. But we saw in the real Monte Carlo, Sebastian Ogier and quite a few drivers weaving on the road sections to try and generate heat in the tire so that the studs would fall out of the tire. If you overheat the tire, the studs will fall out because they're only glued in. They're not sort of part of the actual rubber compound itself. So there's a whole art to which is fastest, and if we're judging by Sebastian Ogier, ripping the studs out of the tire before the power stage is the right way to go if there's not much ice.
Fascinating. That's really interesting insight there, Isa. As someone who knows next to nothing, apart from watching a few old WRC videos, I did watch, I think, I can't remember, 05, 06, Rally Sweden, where they just had no snow, and they were talking about how these studs were really prohibiting the tyre, etc., and they were trying to come up with creative solutions to get around that. But yeah, it's interesting to know on this kind of half icy, half dry conditions how that can affect the cars. Vlembar now coming towards the end of stage 3, and that's a 4:57.894 for him. So seems
That's
like
a
a
good
decent time.
About 7 seconds off the pace, according to my calculations. Contan finishing second in that stage to Tristan. So a lot of fast times in that one. The top 10 covered by about 4.5 seconds. So yeah, it's a time just outside the top 10, but I'm sure I'll be happy with that. Just a couple of seconds behind Kamikaze. But Contar is knocking this one out of the park at the moment, it must be said. He's just going for it.
Yeah, he's dialed in, isn't he? There's no other word for it. He is dialed in, and he's ready to try and grasp this Creator Series crown by two hands. And who knows, he could be one of these sweaty tryhards who don't just win the Creator Series on broadcast championship, but also the RaceNet overall.
Well, Contan is someone who loves to prepare himself well for an event, whether it's competitive or not. He takes sim racing very seriously, obviously being a world champion in sim racing before, and regular on iRacing as well. So, you know, he knows how to drive fast in all conditions. Being part of the Sprint Car Championship in France as well, he knows how to drive in all kinds of, you know, weathers and surface changes. So he has quite a bit of, I wouldn't say an advantage, but just he's developed his skills a lot more than maybe other people have in the real world. So he's used to just feeling for the grip and trying to gain those extra tenths of a second out of the stage. I want to go briefly back to the tires, because you mentioned 2006 and all that. Back in those days, you could have a lot more tire choices than you can now, because by regulation you're not allowed to tamper with the tires. You have to take the tires that you are given, effectively, in terms of compounds and what the tire has, because in 2006 and before you could actually modify the tires. For example, you could cut extra grooves into the slick tires to make a like an intermediate weather condition tire, or you could remove studs from the studded tires to make a semi-studded tire. So the tires nowadays have 2 rows of studs in them, one on the inside of the tire, one on the outside of the tire. But it used to be the case that you could ask for only 1 row of studs or a set number of studs, depending on the conditions. So it used to be a lot more complicated. Nowadays, for cost-cutting reasons, they have 2 or 3 types of compounds, and that's it. You're not allowed to modify them. If, however, the studs fall out, you don't have to have them put back in. They can just act as a worn tire and sometimes be faster because they effectively have no studs in them. So that's why a lot of drivers are weaving on the road sections, trying to create strategy options for themselves on the next loop of stages, for example.
On the flip side of that, if you have a studded tire that's lost its studs, but you want them back in, can you glue them back in, or is that still kind of part
No.
firm where you can't touch them?
Okay.
The studs are glued in at like 300, 400 degrees, so it's not temperatures that you can replicate in a service park, especially on Rally Monte Carlo. So no, once the studs have fallen out, effectively the tire will be compromised in terms of the rubber around the stud. It will have little cracks in it, and it would be very difficult to glue the studs back into the tire. And I don't even think it's permitted anyway.
Yep, Ancephalosis just starting his stage there. This is the 4th stage that a lot of our creators are coming to now. So just another one until the service can be took. And it's a slightly longer stage here with down to Colta Turini, 9.2 kilometers, maybe a medium length stage. So not being too demanding these last 2 stages back to back in terms of tyre wear. Now, while we're talking about tyres, what compounds are available to our creators today, and what strategies are you going to think winning one is going to be?
So the difference in compounds between real life and the game right now, obviously there's been a tire supplier change, so that's the explanation for that. You have in the game you have only the slick compound, so the completely sort of dry tarmac compound, and the studded ice tire, which is a winter tire with extra studs in it. And most of the time on these stages, you'll be wanting to take the studded tire because you'll lose a couple of seconds per sector on dry tarmac, but as soon as you get onto the ice, you are losing maybe 5 to 10 seconds per sector or more if you're on that slick tire. So it's just not worth it in terms of pace, but also in terms of just risk taking. You really don't want to be taking that many risks on these stages, which are being run at night as well. So you don't get that extra sort of second to spot the ice patches, to spot where you're going. Of course, in real life, you have also the winter tire without studs. So that's another option that they can take, a good compromise between driving on the snow and on the dry tarmac. But I guess for simplicity reasons, I think they only give you 2 compounds here so that you don't get muddled up and sit for 30 minutes in front of your screen trying to figure out which tire to use.
Yep, Phil61 is going uphill now, and just a little bit of wall riding through there. Obviously just scrubs off a little bit of speed by doing that, but better than falling off the cliff. And we haven't seen too much of him in the broadcast so far, so I'm unsure of his progress. But one of our kind of mid-runners, let's just say, he can pull out a good time here or there, but hasn't been able to challenge for any wins so far in the Creator Series. But seemingly, just riding on board with him, just keeping it quite calm and considered.
I mean, when we say mid-runners, we're still talking about top 100 times. So we're mid-creator series, but still top of the leaderboards on RaceNet. It's incredible to see just the consistency with which Phil drives, just navigating the corners with such ease, sort of not getting any oversteer or understeer, just using and feeling the grip of the car and letting the car do all of the work, which can be very, very fast, especially on Monte Carlo. And as I say that, it goes straight into the wall. So, yeah, over to you, Gareth.
Yeah, we're both allowed to do a bit of jinxing there. I think that's fair. You said before the broadcast you wanted to jinx Quantum hard because he didn't reply to your message. So maybe we should be riding on board with him and talk about how well he's doing. But Yeah.
I can neither confirm nor deny those statements. My lips are sealed.
But yeah, Phil. Yeah, I mean, he's just even with that slight graze off the wall. Nothing, no panic, no, blustering. You can have a little mistake and turn it into a much bigger mistake by thinking about it and dwelling on it. So, yeah, just a really nice drive here. Really, really simple. Making it look simple. It's probably quite quick.
The thing is, going uphill as well, you'll get less oversteer. So you want to just carry the momentum of the car as much as possible. You don't want to get bogged down or get a huge amount of tire slip, because going uphill, you just want the traction. And a bit like JPH is doing here, you just want to carry that latent speed of the car, use the engine braking quite a bit. You'll notice he's not changing down the gears. He'll want to be in second gear here, but he carried that third gear to make sure that the car didn't slide too much, using the differentials to his advantage in the limited slips that they give, so that you don't lock the brakes, and he'll just carry the speed through the corners without tapping the brakes too much, without tapping the accelerator. And if you're feeling really, really chancy and risky, you can apply a huge amount of accelerator and just slide through the corner. Maybe gain you 2/10. I'm sure we'll see Content do that at some point. But, you're playing with such fine margins at that point that very few people will want to try that. And that's the thing you see in Monte Carlo as well. The gaps are quite big in the real-life Monte Carlo. And I think Glenbar's had a little bit of a moment towards the top here as well, just off of our broadcast here. It's such a tricky end to this stage, the Col de Turini. There's a reason why everybody loves this stage, but also respects this stage so much, is that it's so technical to get all of the speed and to navigate this course properly. You've got barriers, you've got trees, you've got the ice getting worse and worse as you get toward the top of the Col. And, the corners just are so fast and flowing, and yet you can't carry the speed because there's ice on them. People that have played Dirt Rally 2 will remember as well the just full ice at the top of the Col, a bit like this. You had to just play it oh so careful. And yeah, you really do not want to be taking those risks. And we can see GJ here as well doing the same technique of just carrying the speed into the corner, turning the wheel, using the grip, using that four-wheel drive to not slide too much. Because as soon as you get it sideways, you're staring at that cliff there thinking, I could get double puncture here and be out of the rally.
Yeah, and it's that time of the broadcast where we all just look at GJ's setup and go, blink it out. I'd definitely like to sit in that rig. It's so impressive with the triple screens and the blending and just the whole cockpit feel of it. It really does feel like a capsule you'd want to ride around in as it comes towards the final sector. A challenging stage, and it's a challenging sector you've just been about.
Yeah, definitely. In that type of simulator, when you've got the sort of peripheral vision, you get actually sometimes quite scared of like hitting something to your left or to your right, because it's getting so close to you visually that you have to sort of train your senses to just look at what's going on in front of you and use the peripheral vision to judge the distance, but nothing else. You've got to trust the car, and for GJ, like when he's understeering there, it'll be like, am I double guessing this? Maybe I shouldn't be applying the accelerator right now. But it looks like he is just gliding through the stage, to be fair.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've just gone to completely the wrong feed there.
So yeah, Jean-Marc not having his...
You say he's not there, but he is in the Discord. So...
He is in the Discord. He is driving. It's just we have a camera problem, which they have on the WRC. The transponder is not switched on. We'll have to have that reset at service by our engineers. It'll be all fine afterwards. But yeah.
It won't be
I was trying to play the image there.
Credit Series broadcast in the bin, as per usual. As JPH goes over the flying finish there, and yeah, from what we caught from his stage, looked okay, looked
not bad stage,
nice and calm,
again,
considered,
and
when we were riding on board with him, that's when he was making a mistake. So he'll probably be a little bit relieved that we are running on board with him. But just behind Kamikaze, a little bit further down, than he'd like. Of course, he was almost in the top 5 in that first stage without that spin. So a little bit further down, so maybe did make a mistake out there somewhere. But one behind Kamikaze certainly isn't a bad place to be.
Would you like to take a guess at who has finished the stage in first place?
Jam. It's got to be Jam.
Indeed it is. Jam Dal Olmo.
It's the year of the Jam.
Wait, I'd subscribe to that, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, Countdown just knocking it out of the park at the moment. He's so strong on these conditions, and he has that confidence from the rallycross days to slide the car sideways, just carry a smooth sort of calculated slide and just maximize it. And it's in these type of conditions that's just unstoppable. And many drivers just try, and as you can see Rick Blondie there just screaming, trying to get the car turned. And yeah, it's so this is the section of stage which ended this this year's Rally Monte Carlo. It's just after the Col de Torini, so we finished last stage on the uphill just as you get to the crossroads of the Col de Torini. This is the downhill section with which they finished the stage in real life, and it is on the shady side of the hill, so it's got way more ice. This entire stage is just ice after ice, and you can see it's so tricky going downhill. Quite a fast section of stage as well. So Riff Blondie's got her work cut out for her right now, and she looks to understeer quite a bit on this stage, it must be said. She's probably trying to trail brake, which is the correct way of doing things, but with such limited grip, you're running such a fine margin of not locking the brakes, and I suspect she's turning a little bit too much on the wheel from what it looks like, and just understeering off because the tires cannot cope with that amount of slip angle.
Yeah, you did hear her just now on the broadcast say this car won't turn, and maybe needs to tune into a little bit of radioizer for a little bit of coaching there on it. But yeah, doing a good job nonetheless, bouncing back from that first sector, first stage career off the cliff, and just riding that wall a little bit there.
That was close.
Yeah,
that was so close. Lucky to get away with that, but you know that's the fine margins that you have to run. Another pro tip from me, just in all aspects of rallying, if in doubt, go flat out. That's the way you do it.
Yeah, a pro tip from me is get good. I'm still trying to follow my own pro tips, but yeah, I'd listen to Isaac more. Something about the brakes only slow you down. That's my favourite quote from you. Certainly.
I'm never going to live that one down. That's for sure.
Certainly not. I'm just looking over who we could potentially get in for an interview. Shall we try and grab Ancephallosis for a quick interview? While we can, while he's still in the service. Andy, how's it been going out there for you?
Hey, how's it going, guys? Long time no chat. Oh, I've chatted with you guys, actually. It's going... It's going both ways. We've had a few stages we're pretty happy with. Most of the driving has been clean, but man, those rock walls are rough. We definitely got spun around once or twice. I don't know. I think I might have slid off one time. I'm actually happy with how I've mostly kept the car on the track, because the downhill ice has really been antagonistic for me in the past, but there was lots of warnings, and I've had my fair share of mishaps myself, so trying to remind myself to just brake super early downhill, and it's been somewhat safe. I've heard there's like over 500 entrants, so with that in mind, we're doing pretty good.
Yeah, as I was saying on broadcast, most of the creators are inside the top 100, so the pace is really high on broadcast. But
awesome.
I think, as you described it, it's a bit of a survival rally, isn't it? If you keep it on the roads, if you keep it reset penalty free or DNF free, you're guaranteed at least a couple of points. And you know, is that your sort of perspective over the rally? Maybe get some points on the board and then tackle the rallies with which you're a bit more confident later on.
Yeah, I'd say so. I'm hoping, like, I actually love Monte Carlo, but it is treacherous. Even if you love it, you still have to respect it. So I am definitely strategizing, like, trying to keep it on the road, because I know that is way easier said than done, and especially like come stage 11 after the the little bit of lull on 2 dry stages, I think 11 is going to catch a lot of people off guard. And as time goes on, more and more people on or off the broadcast are bound to make mistakes. So I'm just telling myself, keep it clean, keep it on the road, and we'll keep climbing up the leaderboard. That's the hopes, at least.
That mindset you want to take in for the whole season, or just here at Monte Carlo where you maybe feel a little bit out of your depth?
Yeah, I think I want to try to do a little bit of both. I got to remind myself the stages that I'm weak on, honestly, which is mostly the tarmacs. Any stages where there's a rock wall, I feel like my car somewhere, maybe it's my rig, I'm not sure, has like a rock magnet that I'd love to get uninstalled. But yeah, no, there's a few in there where I'm excited to kind of attack. Sweden and Mexico, those are stages I really love. Front wheel drive Rally 4 is not my favorite, but I think we'll still have an advantage of knowing a little bit about Mexico. So a balance, a good balance this season of attacking, but also, knowing my limits, hopefully.
Well, fantastic to hear from you, and I'll let you get along with your stage. I did actually come in quite late there, but yeah, best of luck out there on the next stage.
Hey, appreciate it, man. Thank you, guys.
Always a pleasure to hear from Ancephalosis. It's always a brilliant person to have on the broadcast.
Yeah, we'll have to hold him to that last sentence, though, that he's going to try and play it calm and consistent.
Yeah, let's hope he doesn't end off a cliff right
now. Well, that would be the commentator's curse in a nutshell.
We won't watch him. Just don't look at him and he'll do fine. It's like Schrodinger's cat.
Yeah, talking of like having an onboard perspective, Content has had quite a few moments in this stage, just where clipping sort of the side of the road and just skipping over a few bushes and all of that. So the pace is there, but he's having to take quite a few risks to close in, and I think that's about a second off of the stage win there. I will just double check that time, but yeah, he's looking to go flat out. Yeah, 1.8 seconds down on that time. So basically nothing lost. He's probably still in the fight. Yeah, just ahead of Tristan for the moment. That consistency is paying off for the moment. As we've got Vlembar completing the stage as well for 28.
You can tell when Kamikaze's unhappy, he just goes straight past the stage results. I think it was somewhere down in the 60s. 4-minute 40 for him.
He's made a mistake here.
Yeah, he's going to find what that mistake is, and he wants to iron it out.
It was a spin. I think he's spun somewhere.
Let's see if he can find it for us.
I spotted the car facing sideways at some point, which is not ideal on this kind of stage. Hopefully we'll have a look. It's on flat out sort of middle section of the stage where you're carrying a lot of speed. You're in fourth gear, you're above 100 kilometers per hour for the entire section. And what has it gone on? Oh, he's clipped the inside. He's done exactly what Contant did, but he hasn't got away with it. There's a curbstone on the inside that you can see there, and it's got quite a jagged edge. Now, if you're lucky, you can get a wheel up on the inside there. But if you're unlucky, you can clip a rock like that and go for a little bit of a roller coaster ride right there, which is super, super unfortunate. And as he was saying, he kind of predicted this as from stage 1. He said the Toyota is super low. You can't cut all the time where you want to. And right there is sadly a demonstration of that in its effects. That front splitter on the car is so low that he, maybe in the Skoda or another car, he would have gone over that, just skipped over the top, and it has not gone well. But I think he did complete the stage.
Yeah, 12 seconds down on Vlembar, so...
And with probably damage.
For how dramatic the crash was, not the biggest time loss. That could have ended up anywhere. He could have ended up down the ditch. So not the worst crash to have, but yeah, it'd be the juxtaposition of luck, as you say, Quantum. He just clipped that curb, got the wheel in the right position, and lost a little bit of time. A second maybe, but Kamikaze losing much more than a second, and he's ready to get on to the next stage here.
Yeah, hopefully for Kamikaze he doesn't start overdriving the car and trying to gain back that time, because we have seen in the past that he tends to sort of put it up into another gear once he makes a mistake. And usually that either ends in stage victories or a DNF. So I'm hoping for him that it's not the latter, basically. Let's put it that way.
What you're saying there is Kamikaze by name, Kamikaze by nature.
You know what? As long as we make it without
no comment.
can be
I think diplomatically, there's no way I win that one.
Yeah.
So yeah, he always demonstrates that he has a huge amount of pace. The problem is that certain stages require you
God.
to dial back that pace a little bit.
Yep, so this is the end of stage 6, I
The
believe.
ice is
Bassi
sketchy. It's
de Petronel is my awful British way of saying that.
I don't
And
think I
Riff Blondie a little bit
agree
further
with
down
it
the standings,
on
of course, like we
ice
said,
in
struggling
real
with this
life.
car class combination, not quite managing to get her eye in with it. But we'll try and grab Riff Blondie in for a little chat later on. But there we go, we can see what part she has to replace. And to be honest, not too bad with the generous time limits we now given the Creator Series. That should all be fixable.
No, this one.
It should be, yeah. You might have to make a compromise on some of the parts. Nope, it looks
I'm
like everything's just
surviving.
been done within time.
Yeah,
But
at
yeah,
least.
it is good that we have quite long services so that everybody can fix the car. And it looks like Kamikaze was briefly going for maybe another spin there, or at least a very sideways moment. So, you know, they're attacking these stages now. You can see just the difference of commitment between JPH and Kamikaze hitting the wall there, just taking a little bit too much speed. As I was saying, it's such a sort of risky strategy to start sliding on these very sort of like tricky corners. You can see as soon as he starts sliding, he either gets understeer or oversteer, and at that point you're just a passenger. And if you get it right, you'll gain a huge amount of time. If you get it wrong, you'll lose a substantial more amount of time.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, Kamikaze suffering from a little bit of damage from the previous stage, not yet been to the surfaces. He's got a 6.5 just over to claw through here and just try to bring this one home. As again, just understeers into that wall on the right there, and just all these bumps and grazes make it even more harder to actually bring it home successfully. So there is that. But do you know what? I think that we're going to bring in someone who was very unlucky on stage 1 in for an interview. It is Riff Blondie. Great to have you on the broadcast. Unfortunate to ride along with you for the first sector of stage 1. You know, it's straight away not going your way here.
Yeah, that stage did not exist at all for me. That was my stage started with the third one. Yeah, my stages started on the third one.
Yeah, that sounds like what a driver would say. Yeah, that's a good way of describing it. It's a good way to think about it, isn't it? Just reset the mind and go again. And from what it looks like it succeeded, hasn't it?
I mean, I already DNF'd once, so it can go much worse than what it already has. So I'm trying to look at the bright side of it. If I get worse time, it's always better than another DNF. So I consumed my bad luck for the rest of the club event. Yeah.
Well, that's it. You know, get it all out straight away, and blame Punju for the historically tricky combination that he hasn't turned up for. Remember, just blame Punju. Everyone out there, blame Punju. But yeah, any rallies specifically that are coming up that take your fancy, or you just gonna take it week by week?
I think I'm just gonna take it week by week, because I haven't done rally in so long that I don't really know what to expect from any. So I will definitely be practicing more. I need to practice more. But it's exciting to be back. I missed it. Honestly, the feeling is so different. And just the fact that even when you lose the car or even when you crash it, you can still keep going, which is very different from what I've been doing lately. It's just enjoyable. Yeah, I hit a wall and I can still keep going. So that's good for me.
That's perfect. That's perfect. Well, fantastic to have you on the broadcast, Rift. And we'll follow you closely throughout the rest of it.
Thank you, guys.
Always great to hear from you. Lovely person. And yeah, just not quite having the practice beforehand can really matter. It's such a unique skill set rallying, especially coming from track racing and the likes of iRacing, the F1 game, etc., etc. It's a different discipline, and you can tell that maybe just a little bit rusty in this first week performance.
Yeah, but she's got the right attitude for it, really. Just thinking about the individual stages and
Well,
just thinking,
transfer
well, if
settings
I
settings
make a
off the
mistake, there's
base.
quite a big chance I get
MONTE.
away with it. So that's how you learn. At the end of the day, to go faster, you've got to make mistakes, you've got to push the limits, and you've got to find out what's possible, what's not possible, and where your sort of weaknesses are in driving. And she's got the right attitude to do that.
Yep, JPH just showing us the leaderboard there, showing us that he's actually in 8th position overall. I think a minute down on the absolute fastest, but he's looking super consistent out here. A few mistakes here or there, you know, lost 10 seconds on that first stage. He could be maybe a handful of places further up the order, but JPH, you know what? I think we're going to try and get him in for interview again. I think we're going to do it. Are you there, JPH? Hello? Can you hear us? We'd love to have you on the broadcast. We've been following you closely. A few mistakes here and there, but so far looking quite impressive in 8th place.
Yeah, good evening, and we're back for season 5, which is good, isn't it? Yeah, it's been a topsy-turvy start. A couple of unlucky moments, and one just pure brain fade moment. But yeah, no, it's been a good start, really. I'm quite enjoying the way the Fabi is driving right now. It's just a bonus on the stony ice.
You can blame me for the spin at the end of the first stage, by the way, because I was riding on board with you. I was saying how consistent you've been, how nice this was, and he's just got a few more corners to do. And as Isa said, I think you're already making a mistake at this point, and it got a bit pear-shaped. So you can blame me for that, Jinx.
Ah, perfect. I always like a scapegoat to put a blame on my crashes. Perfect.
That's the lifestyle that you want as a driver, that's for sure. But indeed, it's turning into quite a survival rally for a lot of people. You're currently sat P2 in the Credit Series standings, provisionally in the rally. So it's all going according to plan, I'd say, for you, despite the mistakes. People are making bigger mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, Monte's always a case of survival. I mean, with the ice, you just want to make sure the car's going forward all the time. And almost a slightly steady approach helps out. I mean, I also don't know if the sort of tarmac physics in Monte updated, but I do notice there's a lot more sort of understeer on the dry tarmac with the winter tyres. So compared to before the Maestrix came out, so I don't know if that's had a little change in there, which might be sort of affecting a few people. But it's a good challenge. It's a really nice challenge to start the 5th season off. For sure, it's going to set a really good sort of tone for the whole Creator series this season.
Interesting analysis there about the grip changes possible. You know, there's always little tweaks and adjustments going on in the background. So, you know, does that make it more difficult then, with preparation maybe happening a few weeks prior, and then everything changes and you have to adapt to it?
I just think it's more fun because it's, you know, part of rallying is adapting to sort of the changes you get. I mean, for example, on Raven to Costa Bell to stage 3, you come down to that hairpin right where normally on almost every other time you do it, the ice has already ended before the one right. But on this occasion, where the conditions are very slightly different, it carried on all the way around. So you have to adapt to that. It's part of rallying, and it's probably why we all sort of love it, because you never really know what you're going to get until you get there.
Yeah, well, fantastic to hear from you. We'll let you get on with the rest of the stages. Just very quickly, do you think you'll be able to keep up this podium position towards the end?
I'd like to certainly hope so, but I think we've got some fog on the way, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I guess that's a challenge of being a console player. You can't turn those off, but it also means you're the only one playing it legitimately. So get these other drivers in the bin. Let's put
Legitimate
JPH
winner.
to the top of the leaderboard.
Legitimate winner there. There you go. So
Yeah.
I'll take that victory.
Exactly. The moral victory. Right, JPH, I'll let you get on, and thank you for joining the broadcast.
Brilliant. Thank you, guys.
Always lovely to hear from JPH, isn't it?
Yeah, he's got so much in-depth analysis as well. You know, his family's involved in motorsport, so he's got so much knowledge about rally, and especially the changeable conditions. You know, the British Rally Championship is known for all types of conditions throughout the year, so he can accurately say what's happening. You know, what type of grip change. Interesting to note there. He said that the ice ended quite a bit later than everybody had noticed, and it would be the hairpin that Rift Blonty has just come out of. Jam spinning there at the next hairpin just up the road. So Riff Blondie is about to approach that section in about 10 seconds, I'd say. And it's just so icy, especially on the night conditions. From what I understand, it's down to the time of day. So if you take a stage in the early hours of the morning or in the morning, it will have more ice on it than if you take the afternoon or evening conditions. Because of the temperature change. And that's very sort of reminiscent of what happens in real life as well. Having spectated the Monte Carlo this year on one stage, the ice completely melted effectively for the second pass in the afternoon. And so drivers have to adapt to an entire new set of road conditions. One thing that you don't see actually on these stages is the dirtiness of the roads. They get a lot of gravel swept onto the stages with all of the various cuts on, especially on the tarmac sections. So you'd actually see just like a full gravel line, and that's a post, I think, telling you to be careful because it's very slippery for 900 meters. So yeah, that was needed a couple of corners ago, I think.
Yeah, it had already got slippy, and yeah, we can see how difficult these corners are that she's going through right here. Just understeering for every single one, struggling to get the traction on the exit as well. So yeah, coming across of a signpost that's telling you to slow down is a little bit of irony at its best.
I do love the extra details as well put into the stages where you've got the like signs next to the road indicating multiple points like medical points, radio points and stuff like that. Whoa, that's the signpost for the entry to the village there. You might not want to hit that one. But yeah, this is that was the famous corner where Takamoto Katsuta and Oitanak crashed. I think it was last year on the Monte Carlo. So yeah, lots of drivers get caught out on this section, known to be almost always icy on the Monte Carlo because it's so high up. But as you can see, for Contan, just drifting his way through the section as if nothing's amiss. Everything is fine. He's got all of the grip in the world. And, you know, other people will be thinking, is he driving a different category of cars to us? It certainly looks like, you know, he has put at least a little bit of preparation into this one, just with the confidence that he has right there.
Yeah, of course, sometimes, you know, certain combinations can favour you in the Create Series. We run a different, you know, rally and category of car combination every single week, and we try and keep it fresh where possible. But interestingly, these two on screen at the moment, one in Toyota, one in the Skoda, these two are the meta cars in this WRC2 category. What makes these cars so much more drivable compared to some of the others in the class?
It's not to do with the drivability, I think it's to do with power. These cars have between 10 and 20 brake horsepower more than certain other cars in the category, and that makes a huge difference on tarmac, especially. But on all surfaces, if you've got more power, like you can just be faster everywhere. That's the way it works. You know, even if you've got zero traction, if you have 500 brake horsepower, which these cars don't have, I'm exaggerating a little bit, you'll still get through the stage a little bit faster if you've got four-wheel drive. So add that four-wheel drive to a tiny bit more power, and even if the car's a little bit more slippy, especially in terms of the Skoda, you can just carry the speed through the corners and get back up to speed a lot faster, and that's what makes the difference. From what I understand, there's a power to weight ratio in Rally 2, which is the regulations for this category of WRC2 cars, which means that if you have more power, you also have a bit more weight. And from what I understand, all of the cars have the same weight in the category, but don't have the same power. So while they are a lot more balanced in the real-life category, I don't think there's been a potential update to the power-to-weight ratio of the cars, basically. So these are the newest cars in the category, therefore they are the fastest because they have the updated power, essentially.
Is there a benefit for someone who's maybe newer to the game and newer to rallying to actually take some of those slower cars in the class? Will that give you kind of more predictability and less kind of on certainly on a rally stage like this where there is icy conditions? Will it you know, hinder you less as a beginner, or is power always going to win out?
I'd say for a start that the Rally 2 cars are some of the easiest to drive in the game. They're fast, yes, but they have a lot of grip. and they can actually be very good at teaching you the basics of rally. Because you can, get power slides going. You can, use the weight of the car to transfer weight and, get slides going that way as well. So they can teach you a lot of the techniques that you need. In this category, the difference in grip is so small that I'd say if you're wanting to learn this type of rally game, probably going with the Toyota of this category is probably the easiest combo because it has so much grip. Maybe a little bit less power, especially in torque, than the Skoda has, but it's so consistent in the way it gives you feedback that you can learn the stages, you can learn the game very easily. Contan getting very close to the trees there.
He was teetering on the edge there. There's no way to describe it. He's pushing again. And is this the same finish as Ansel, or am I just getting?
It is.
It is indeed the same finish. So we've already seen him go quick downhill and through this technical sector, and he's clearly practiced it quite well. Keeping that car in one piece and going over the line, we'll be able to get an indication of what time he has as he goes over towards the marshal and just have some of that. 8:52. Where are we looking on there for this stage, Isa?
That is a little bit slower than the fastest times, I think. Probably in the top 5, according to my calculations. Yeah, there you go, P4. Losing a little bit of time in that one, so maybe a mistake that we didn't see in the icy section, or maybe even a different tire choice. Let me have a look at the next stage. The next stage may indeed be dry, so maybe some people taking different tires on this one. It might be possible. I'm not familiar with the next stage, and that's the problem. So maybe the next stage is dry, in which the soft compound tires will be faster. But looking at the split times, no, there's been a mistake in there. Split 4 for Contin. He lost 4 seconds in one split on split 4, which he's just changed screen, and then losing time all toward the end of the stage there by the about 5 tenths per sector. So maybe some damage on the car there. So yeah, a rare mistake. But the difference with Contin is that he sort of manages to put the car in a position a bit like Sebastian Loeb and Ogier do, where if they do make a mistake, it's a minor mistake. Like they'll tap something, get a bit of like visual damage, and that'll be that. Whereas the other drivers trying to keep pace with Contin are pushing the limits maybe 5 to 10% more. And that's when you go into the danger zone of having a really bad crash, basically. And with so many obstacles, so many things to hit, it becomes a losing game, effectively, because there's only so many kilometers that you can do at someone else's pace where they're more confident than you are, before you make that inevitable mistake.
Yeah, very interesting. Phil now coming to this downhill section here, so he'll be carrying a lot of speed here in this Toyota GR Yaris, and just carrying the speed nicely. But you could just tell. I mean, maybe a little bit is FOV setting and the settings of the car, but of course, Contin, I believe, riding right on the bonnet, whereas Phil rides in the cockpit. But the speed difference carried through these parts is quite dramatic. But Phil, as we said earlier, one of our mid-pace runners, mid is maybe not other people's perceptions of mid. He's still a top 100 driver, can put a quick time in here or there, and I'm sure will score a podium or two this if he is in the right conditions for him, etc, etc. But yeah, coming towards the end of the stage now, and be interested to see what Phil can do.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of time before that downhill section. He's just got to go through the village of Ansel. I think this is the Ansel village. So yeah, the cars in the real Monte Carlo were taking so much speed through this village. It was ridiculous. Just on the rev limiter, essentially, in 5th gear, flat out. Just power sliding it through. And there you go, outside of the village, and now just over this little crest here, and it goes downhill for here, from here, and hopefully that's figuratively, not literally, in terms of the stage results. I think we've got Rift Blondie stuck on the next stage, which is looking very snowy and foggy. She's managed to get going now again, but this stage is catching out quite a few drivers. There's just so much, and she's gone the wrong side of the barrier there, giving a bit of a wave to the spectators. That's how you do it, you know. Playing to the crowds, as they say, is quite a strategy for rally drivers to get sponsorships. So, you know, there's the diverse strategies playing out here.
Yeah, Ryan L3 also out there at the moment. Haven't been able to ride on board with him too much for obvious reasons. It's just stabilised a little bit there as soon as I start to slag off the stream a little bit. But the stream coming through from his point of view isn't quite as smooth as we'd like to have in the Creator Series. So he is out there though. And
he's going off the road. Oh, just so lucky, so lucky. I was just looking at the lines and the speed there and thinking, if that rear tire does not grip up, he's in trouble at some point. But he just managed to get the grip on that grass. That's the funny thing as well. Sometimes when the road is so icy, you can find extra grip on the grass and mud on the side of the road. Which is why drivers go for the cuts in the first place on these icy conditions. And, you know, it's risk versus reward there. Just Ryan clattering the stone wall there at the end, trying to get the maximum speed from the car. And he's carrying a lot of speed after the stage ends as well. I'm not sure why you'd risk taking damage. And there, straight into the wall, bonk, bonk, and straight to the marshals. But yeah, Rift Blondie having a little bit of problems as well with some rocks. And, you know, it's so difficult with the fog and with the roadside being naturally sort of like a camouflage pattern, that you don't necessarily spot that there's a rock there. And what you think might be a rock is just an innocent patch of snow, and then you do the opposite calculation, and sometimes it's a rock there, and it catches you out.
Yeah, I tell you what, I'm going to grab Ryan in for a little while he's unmuted, and ask him how his day is going. Ryan, how has it been for you out there? Has it been firmly in the mud, or has it been in the snow?
It's a bit of both, really. Had a very strong start in the first 2-3 stages, and then it went downhill. Stage 4 had a double puncture on the rear, which didn't help, and then at the end of stage 5, fresh tires. Right at the end, I got another double puncture on both right sides. So for stage 6, it was like an ice rink for me on every corner, and then the last 2 had a bit of a poor start. Made a mistake, but managed to gain some time back and did pretty okay at the end. But then the last one just now, 10 seconds up on PB, I'll take it, and I think top 25 overall for that stage, so I'll take it. But stages 4 and 6 have basically killed it for me, I think. But apart from that, it's been pretty surprising how I've done so far, because I would have thought I'd be in the ditch by now.
I was about to say, it's a bit like you're doing a full 24-hour race in endurance racing, with all of the grip changes, the condition changes, and having to adapt to different tire temperatures and car conditions, damage setting in. How can you use some of the experience that you have in endurance racing to sort of mitigate some of the problems of rallying?
Yeah, so funny enough, I had a race a couple of days yesterday. It was a mixed condition of rain and, well, dry and rain. So I kind of had a bit of a feeling. It was a 4-wheel drive Ferrari GTP, or LMDH, but iRacing likes to call it GTP. But so I had a bit of an understanding of how the grip is, but the ice on here is on another level. Found it really difficult when I first started practicing in the icy conditions, but as soon as I kind of got a setup that works nicely for mainly the ice sections of the circuit and not for the dry parts, I think it feels really nice. And I know the next 2 are going to be very interesting for tire choice, because I would probably go winters, but I may gamble to go on the soft tires to try and gain some time back. But I know there's a risk with that. But in the position I am at the minute, I want to take a massive gamble now and hopefully get to the end of the next 2 and really go for the power stage at the end.
Yeah, looking at the next 2 stages, it is a bit of a gamble, isn't it? There's a tiny bit of ice, but quite a bit of it is in dry conditions. That's always the gamble that you take with the Monte, isn't it? You've got to calculate where you're going to push and where you're not going to push. And sounds like you prepared it well. So whatever tire choice you'll take, it'll be fine, I'm sure. Not commentators cursing that at all.
Oh no! And one thing I only realised at the end of last season was my wheel settings were based on iRacing, so I was running 900-degree steering. So why I felt so weird, like at Japan, for example, when I was like yanking it all the way to get turning, when I've now found an actual setting that is ideal for this game, and I've gained so much time already. So that's a bonus I've took into this season, and obviously I've got a bit more time on my hands to practice for this. As like the next major event I do is not until March, which is Sebring 12 hours on another game, which we won't say.
You can say it's fine.
But,
it's iRacing, isn't it? Or...
Yeah, I'm racing Sebring 12 hours. So, I mean, there could be rain there. So, I mean, this would be great practice with obviously different contrast of there's no ice on iRacing, but slippy, conditions should be good. But yeah, should be good. But yeah, hopefully this end of the stage should be good. With I've made a slight change to the setup for this one because it's being bone dry tarmac. Again, as John mentioned, it's a big gamble with this one with the softs, but I'm doing this for fun, so let's just go for it and just send it.
I've watched enough Bullseye to know you've got to go for the special prize at the end because you could be winning a Proton Saga. Who knows?
Who knows?
Anyway, Ryan, I'll let you get onto your gamble, and we'll keep a close eye on you over the next few stages.
All right, cheers, boys.
Thank you very much.
Here we go.
Yeah, gamble? Would you gamble?
Honestly, no. No, the Monte is the one thing that does not generally reward gambles. Sebastian Ogier and Sebastian Loeb are always known for going for a little bit of conservative tires on Monte Carlo because they know for well that if you get the wrong tire choice, you'll lose 10-20 seconds and they can make that back. But if you go for the wrong tire choice, you lose a minute or a bit more than a minute, and that's irrecoverable at that point. Just want to point out that off camera, during the interview there, I was making a few surprised faces, is that a lot of people will be gaining a position, sadly, after this foggy stage, because sadly, IRC JPH has had a nightmare stage, going off the road early toward the start of the stage, and then sadly getting the braking wrong and sliding all the way down the hill to a DNF. So not, and you can see the look on his face a bit dejected because it was going oh so well, and he was really carrying the speed, drifting the car, but once again, tire doesn't grip up, and then you're just sliding, and there's nothing you can do. And he tried desperately to get the car back on the stage, and it was just to no avail. The tires weren't having it, the grass wasn't having it, and just the slow, inevitable roll down the countryside of Monte Carlo. And that is the end of the rally in terms of the top 10 in any case.
Yeah, you can't do the put and do cheese method anymore, where you hit start and reset at the right point. So yeah, a little bit disappointing. Maybe it was a crash after the stage finished there for Phil. Yeah. I think a little bit. And again, just to have at it. Why not? Why not? Who cares, right? It's only bodywork.
There is a strategy behind that, in that if your car is only slightly damaged, sometimes it can give you aerodynamic damage without giving you damage, a bit like on the Formula 1 game where it's still a green wing, so it won't replace it in the pit stop. But you have a tiny bit of damage that compromises your driving. And so if you just nudge the wall a little bit without taking your wheel off, obviously, like we've seen in certain F1 episodes, you can get it reset or fixed at service, so you can go with a fresh car. As we're seeing with Ryan, which tires has he got on the car? We won't be able to tell, but definitely with the commitment, you'll probably tell at some point.
I think he's risking for a biscuit.
I think this stage is dry. These two stages are. I'm trying to remember the stage.
These are new stages, aren't they?
This is the last section of the new stages. So the section right down, you can see the snow line is above this. So I think actually this stage is completely dry, as well as the next one. So in effect, the gamble on the soft tires might actually work out. A bit of a question mark over whether the snowfall makes the road damp enough so that the soft tires can't grip. But from what it looked like from Ryan's perspective, oh, Rift Blondie straight into the bridge there. And that was a very, very lucky escape on what was the rally ending corner, I think, in the other direction on stage 1. So, yeah, this stage catching her out quite a bit. But this time, I said nothing. I'm saying nothing until she gets the car back on the road. Yes, okay.
No,
so
no, not down there.
no, that's not what you want to do. Definitely not.
Reverse.
There we go. Back on stage. Everything's fine.
Cha-cha,
See?
Will Smooth. Keep going.
Rally Monte Carlo is oh so easy to do. I was having a nightmare right there, thinking I jinxed it about 3 times.
Yeah, so this is again this is the second half of this stage here, and yeah, oh, look how much he's riding the grass. That's on purpose. That's knowing you can cut that corner, isn't it?
He knows these stages. You can tell because there's so many things to avoid that you have to know that you can put a wheel in there. That's like the gravel crews do in real life. They go and survey the stages, say to the crews, so that they pass about 2 to 3 hours before the stage starts, and they will say to the drivers, okay, there's ice here, there's rocks here, there's sort of like mud on the road in this section, and on tarmac rallies that can make or break your rally in real life because you have to have that in the pace notes, otherwise you arrive at the wrong speed or can't brake or go into an obstacle that wasn't there when you made the pace notes a few days before. And so, especially in foggy conditions, you just have to know to commit, basically. Yeah, in terms of the incident, going back to Rift Blondie's incident, she still hasn't topped Gus Greensmith in real life. In terms of going onto an icy section, keeping the throttle absolutely flat out, and careering straight off into a ditch and ending the rally in the ditch there. So at least nobody will be able to replicate that on the Creator Series.
Yeah, of course, if you do retire as a JPH and Rift Blondie have done stages, you do get that lifeline, you do get to go to the next service. What is it, 20-minute penalty added onto your time? You're not scoring well, but you can continue.
Yeah, it depends on the stage and the amount of stages between the service. I think it's anywhere between a 4-minute and a 16-minute penalty per stage, depending on the stage length. And those accumulate depending on how many stages are left until the next service. So, for example, for IRC JPH, you got I think a 3-minute 30-second penalty, just for that short stage DNF. So he got away with it quite lightly. He'll probably still be in the top 100 come the end of the rally, but obviously you can see he's driving a little bit more laid back now, just knowing that sadly that top 10 result is effectively gone.
Is it worth just going for stage rally victories, just pushing flat out now? Or is it still worth consolidating a little bit, knowing that other people will have retired and you can kind of consolidate a position lower down the board than you would have liked, but still with time over?
Well, for the Creator Series standings, if you finish the rally, you're at least guaranteed some points, I think, at this stage for RCJPH. And effectively, what I'd be doing at this stage is just gaining my confidence back for the power stage. You want to put everything into that stage to grab at least a few points and try and salvage something if it's just confidence, maybe. And I'm always of the opinion never give up, because you never know how much other people will make mistakes. You might have made a mistake, but guaranteed that somebody else will make a bigger mistake than you at some point. So you've got to keep pushing, you've got to keep the spirits high, and hopefully the result will come to you. And if not, at least you tried your best.
Yeah, Quanton has finished third on that
Ryan.
stage. Kamikaze in fourth. So
Look at Ryan. P2 for Ryan.
Oof.
I can almost
Gamble's
guarantee he has gone for the gamble in the tires. I can almost guarantee that. The question is stage 10 ice or not? That's the big question mark.
Yeah, so they have stage 10 and stage 11 coming up, 11 being the power stage. Does 11 have a service area on it?
I think it might do. It does. It has a service area.
So they have that option to spit new tyres at the start of that power stage. and also fixing the car. So even if the drivers are carrying a little bit more damage, they can limp through and they can maybe just fix that for the power stage and pick up those points. So yeah, it means they can go for it a little bit on the stage, and that gamble to Ryan. We're getting a quick view of this next stage here from Quantum. It's looking a little bit foggy, but no ice on the ground at the start of this stage.
Yeah, same type of conditions, isn't it? Just, I think, let me get the bearings of the road. Yes, this is the reverse of the stage they've just done. So, in theory, there is no ice on this stage, in theory. I'm not sure whether many of the drivers figured that out. Because I heard Kamikaze saying to all the drivers, it's winter tires every single service area. So I'm not sure whether people like Kamikaze have figured out that this combo here is way faster, possibly on the slick tires, and that will give them a fresh set of tires no matter what for the power stage as well. So it's kind of like a double whammy. You take maybe a set of tires that might be faster. It's a bit of a gamble, but it also gives you a better opportunity for the power stage no matter what. So there's also the opposite to be said. If you go for the soft compound tires and then back to the ice tires, the studded tires, you lose that sort of feeling for the ice tires, and so that first sector back on the studded tires can be quite difficult. You can lose a bit of time there. So there's a lot to think about in this rally. There's a lot to calculate, and that's why certain drivers have won it so many times, is because they have that knack of figuring it all out, of just having that instinct of making the right decision.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a trait to have to win this rally many times, isn't it? I wonder if there was any, let's say, housery from Kamikaze on the others, or whether it was a genuine just misunderstandings of these stages as he just lumps it into the barrier and bounces off the Armco, carries the speed well. Even though he did have that little mistake, but will of course scrub up a little bit of speed there. But I wonder if there's a little bit of, competitive spirit coming out there from him, or it was just a genuine unknown for him over the stages.
Well, from what I heard from Kamikaze, he didn't do much practice at all. So it is possible that with the new stages coming out very recently, that he just hasn't driven the entire stage in snow conditions. The time trials, which people use to prepare, most of the time do not have snow on them. It's like a summer conditions. So it's possible that he drove the entire stage without ice. And so it can also be just a confidence thing. Just taking a consistent set of tires that will get you to the end, effectively. But yeah, I'd expect Kamikaze to know sort of approximately what tires you should be on. You can normally look at the sort of roadmap and figure out what's going on. But when you've got fog like this, sometimes you just don't want to gamble.
It's nice to see Quantum, who's of course on the PC, running these fog particles and adding to that immersion and putting himself in the driver's seat properly here for this stage. So that's nice to see. A little bit of conversation in chat between Kelbetri and Ambient Mike as well. Kelbetri saying he ran the stages on the softs, Ambient Mike on the winter tires, and saying, halfway through the stage, race nets had a mare here because it said icy conditions, but clearly out here these are favouring those soft tires.
Yeah, icy conditions. I guess it applies to what you're seeing on the roadside as well. It doesn't mean that the entire stage is icy. According to me anyway, it's a thing that on the side of the road you have less grip when it's got the snow on the side. It's a very subtle difference. You still have quite a bit of grip, but it's definitely not full dry conditions like you'd have in like summertime. So I guess the ice only applies to the side of the road until you get up into the higher sections of the stage. As you can see, IRC JPH just running over the rocks there, which I think brought out Ancephallosis earlier. So those two hairpins not being kind to the cars so far. But that depends on your ride height as well. If you run a higher ride height, you will be able to skip over the stones, but overall you'll have less grip.
Yeah, I think Ryan has got to the end of the stage. I was hoping to just intercept him before he got to the end to see what kind of times he can get. Quantum, he's got to the end of the stages, so we should be able to see from his point of view here if Ryan was able to keep up that good pace from the previous stage. Of course, running backwards, not seemingly in the top 7 at least, unless he's a little further down. So not being able to carry that pace over, but Kamikaze, he's leading that stage overall at the moment, so just showing his kind of peaks and troughs attitudes to create a series. Maybe that little bit of inconsistency is back for him.
Yeah, wow. He said that this rally isn't his favourite, and maybe he has gone with the soft compound tires there. So yeah, he has a few rallies every single season where the pace is there, but the consistency isn't. And this appears to be one of those rallies, but he'll be very happy knowing that he's provisionally before the power stage in P2 overall in the Creator Series. So securing points like he did last year, that's the main thing. However, with Kamikaze
No,
on the
women's
radar,
not
it might
driving.
not be
This
enough
is
anymore.
Not considered driving.
Yep, on to the power stage we are now. So this is the final stage of the night. Creator Series
thank
rules,
God.
of course, we have 2 championships. We have the RaceNet championships that everyone can get involved with. I'm going to put exclamation mark
scary.
WRC in chat. You can come and join us via those links. You can also join our Discord
Much
and
better.
post any clips of any funny incidents you have out there on track, or scary moments or close shaves, which we've seen plenty of on the broadcast. But we also have those Creator Series standings, the people on the broadcast fighting against each other for the Creator Series crown, and the power stage can give you an extra 5 points for winning this stage alone. So even if you crash out like the likes of with Blondie, IRC, JPH, they're not going to be scoring big points in the overall rally standings, but you can claw some back on this final stage. But it is risk versus reward. Of course, if you retire on this stage, you won't be picking up any points for the power stage, and you won't be picking many points up in the rally, as Riff Blondie just using this this snow run here a bit like a bumper course, and coming to a stop.
Yeah, just no brakes. Trying to turn and brake at the same time, that won't work. You've got to really sort of just use the engine braking down here. It can be... You want to gain time back, and the problem is for Riff Blondie now, she'll want to push flat out, and that's sadly what happens. You clip a rock. Uh-oh, this is not looking good. Get it into first gear, floor it, and hopefully get it back on track. Yeah, thankfully a reset penalty. Spectators helping her back onto the stage there, but it's sort of the compounding mistakes that I talk about all the time, and it's especially true on ice, that you want to go faster to catch up the time that you lost from your previous mistake. And then you start braking later, so you make another mistake, so you start turning in a little bit faster to build up more speed again to make up for the 2 mistakes now. And so the more mistakes you make, the faster and the more you try to get rid of those mistakes and make up the time, and it just ends up with you going off the stage normally, just because you've just got to work against your mind effectively. Your mind's telling you you're behind schedule, you need to pick up the pace, and you've just got to go, no, that time is lost now. I've just got to reset, go with the safe strategy, and just keep it on the road now. And that's what a lot of drivers struggle with in the Monte Carlo. You see it in so many times in real life, that a driver makes a mistake on one stage, the next stage they just go off completely because they're trying to prove a point. They're trying to gain that position back or whatever, and it almost always ends badly.
Okay.
Oh, Quentin! Big mistake from Quentin.
Huge moment. That's a retirement.
He's out.
That's it.
He's out.
That is a huge moment here in the Creator Series. He's done exactly what I just said that people could do. If you push too hard on the power stage, you're losing the power stage points, and you are losing the rally points as well. I was just about to ask you, what is his mindset here going into the stage? But that's a huge bottle, isn't it?
He's I'm not sure. I think it was trying to make a statement. I really think it was trying to make a statement, which I respect Quentin for, because he's always pushing flat out, and I love to see it. But just going into that corner, he took the inside cut. He got so close to those rocks, which for 100 times this event he had gotten away with, and that one time that his wheel just clipped the rocks, pushed him out wide, maybe even a puncture at that stage, and then once you're onto the grass, once you're onto the ice, you got no traction in the tires whatsoever, ever at all anymore, and just off the stage you go, and there's your passenger at that point. And the funny thing is, all of the drivers are in the stage now, so they won't know that Quentin has DNF'd. So all of these drivers pushing flat out to try and nab power stage points off of Quentin Delolmo will be pushing the risks needlessly, basically. I am so disappointed for Quentin, to be honest, because he's driven such a good rally.
Dejecting, absolutely dejecting. You can see how disappointed he is. He's he had a top 5 in the race net standings secured. He had an overall victory in the Creator Series. There for taking. He just needs to get to the end. And I was just thinking, is there any chance he's going to throw this away? I was almost about to say that as he went off the cliff there, and that is dramatic. Who is the person second in the standings? I'm seeing Ambient Mike there. Of course, he does join us on the broadcast sometimes, so maybe he could be picking up the 4 points. But of the drivers who are on the broadcast today, who is in a good position here to reap the reward of Quentin's downfall there?
I was going to say JPH, but he has had a spin in the power stage for a start. I'd say Kamikaze at this point. Right? Kamikaze is pushing way above the limit. I will say he is on the limit for that Toyota. And as JPH makes another mistake, nearly sliding off the road there. So a lot of drivers, I think, are literally pushing to try and nab points off of Quentin Delolmo, who has DNF'd, but they won't know. They don't have the split times. They don't have who's in the lead. And there's another story to tell, may I add, that on stage 10, overall, Quentin had only a 7-second lead overall over second place Tristan. So that gap had been gradually coming down, because it was at 24 seconds at one point in stage 6, I think. So maybe Quentin just a little bit under pressure, trying to... Oh, Kamikaze off the stage? No, he gets saved by a little bit of a bush there, just allowing him to regain traction and get back on the road. But you can see they're just so on the limit in this stage.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll try and bring up as many of our contenders out there, as you say, unaware of the unlucky nature of Quentin's downfall there into that ditch, and they're looking to pick up points. They could be picking up, well, and they will be picking up a whole heap of points, but Kamikaze's had a big old moment out there. He's down in a bush. He's just managed to recover that one. Sorry about the stream quality being a little bit slow on his end. We will try to keep you updated as best as possible. I'm thinking, where's Ryan L83 in all of this? Because he's had a couple of good stages. He did talk about the mid stage of this rally as JPH is off again as well. Lots of mistakes out there. Consistency could really be important here. Ryan's bonnet is popping up and down, so you think he will have had some damage. Of course, the service area was at the start of the stage. So I think he's made a mistake. But someone like Vlembar now, coming in the last minute, sweeping away and taking some points. It is all going to come down to this final stage.
I was just about to mention Vlembar, to be honest. Vlembar does excel in low grip conditions like this, so I haven't seen any major mistakes yet from Vlembar, and that's going to be a commentator's curse, isn't it? But he's driven a solid rally on that controller. Like, it's so difficult. I urge anybody to try driving on a controller. You've got to be so pinpoint precision with it. You can be very fast, don't get me wrong, but you've got to have the skills to go with it, essentially. And he is maximizing his opportunities here, as we've got our first driver across the line here, I think, with Ryan. Oh, Ryan just overcooking it a little bit. He's pushing all the way to the line and across the line. Indeed, 9:32. Let me check those times compared to other people. It's quite down on the fastest times, about 30 seconds off the fastest time. So I'd suggest that might not be our winning time for the power stage for the creators in any case, but it's a solid attempt on that ice.
Yep, so we'll try and find out some of the times a little later on, but maybe not the best there from Ryan, but it's just crazy how in a moment something that's felt so predictable, so straightforward, has just twisted on its head. And in the WRC Creator Series, we have a real battle on this final stage for the overall rally victory. And which way that can go. Any mistake can cost even a driver absolutely in a sure pound seat can be cost here. So I think JPH will look back at that mistake a few rallies ago where he did DNF as hugely costly, because he'd be in a very, very good position without it to
Been in the
maybe
lead.
pick up his first win.
Yeah, he would have been. He would have been in the lead. He was only about 20 seconds off of Contan going into the stage where he DNF'd at. So, I mean, there's a lot of positives nonetheless for any driver that has DNF'd from this rally. There's a lot of positives in that you gain experience, you gain knowledge, and for the three drivers that I've seen with the DNF, JPH, Riff Blondie, and for Contan, they all either before or after the crashes, they've been driving spectacularly and have actually picked up the pace, I think. So Monte Carlo is one of those ones where you will probably DNF your first 3, 4, 5 attempts at Monte Carlo, and then all of a sudden it clicks. You get that rhythm, you build that confidence and knowledge of what to do when the car starts sliding, and you can't just floor it to gain the grip back. And then once you have that, you have another sort of like get out of jail card, effectively, in terms of not DNFing the stage. And from that point, you can start pushing a lot. But the risk remains there for everybody. And Contan's DNF is a reminder of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Kamikaze coming towards the end of this. What has to be said, it's a fairly meaty power stage, isn't it? So Flembar's had a big mistake
What
there
a
in the bottom
recovery!
left-hand corner.
360.
Wow. Do you think any
I'll give
puncture
that
there?
an 8 out of 10. Let's have a look at the steering inputs.
It seems pretty stable, doesn't
It
it?
seems pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, seems pretty okay. You can get very, very lucky with these modern rally cars. The tires
He's
are
looking.
yeah,
He's
he's
checking.
looking. He's not sure. He's not sure.
Oof.
Because it can be quite difficult to tell on the controller whether you've got a puncture or not. On the wheel, the force feedback tells you a lot whether you have a puncture. He's backing off, but no, he has a puncture. I can almost guarantee you he's got a puncture. He's doing micro corrections, and he's not going flat out here. And if he doesn't slow down to under 100 kilometers per hour, that tire is in serious danger of popping. So, yeah, unfortunate. As I was going to say, these modern rally cars have the wheels as close to the corners of the car as you can, which is great for handling. It gives you a very responsive feedback and sort of handling of the car. But that does mean if you hit anything, the wheel is so much closer to whatever you're hitting that you can just get a puncture from it. And I'm still unconvinced as to whether Vlembar has a puncture or not. I'm trying to figure it out still.
Yeah, it's maybe just backing off a little bit and knowing how close he was to a mistake, as Kamikaze just takes down that speed sign. You don't need to know how fast you're going. Kamikaze setting the speed limit there, and that's at 8:59 for Kamikaze, I believe.
Oh, okay.
So interesting to see
Top
what kind
four.
of time
Only
he can do.
200 something.
Fourth place,
Fourth
according
place.
to me,
Well,
overall
okay. Well,
on the power stage. So that's brilliant.
That's very
With that
interesting.
mistake, he could have gone for the victory in the power stage there overall. And I think for Vlembar, no puncture. I'll be honest. He didn't really correct on the straights there, so it's looking like he got away with that one. But I think he was very unsure for at least a sector whether he had a puncture. And there you go, the confirmation of the top four in the power stage. So that's provisionally 5 points.
Yeah, that's provisionally 5 points. Hopefully he'll go through to the next page and realise, look at that, he's third. He's currently leading.
He's going to look for Contan, probably.
He's going to look for Contan. He's not there. He's actually leading the Creator Series broadcast here. Kamikaze came into this one, of course, the champion, the reigning champion. He wasn't bigging himself up, was he? He was not bigging himself up. He was saying, I don't really like this one, but currently leads the standings. Of course, one of the first of the fast drivers to go through. JPH, unfortunately, he's way down the standings there, 42nd place. He could have been a winner here without his mistake a few stages ago. It really comes down to Vlembar, who we thought had a bit of a puncture. He did have a bit of a moment, a bit of a crash, but a good recovery. No puncture by the looks of things, but by what we think, of course, we haven't got any off-board views here.
No.
He
going.
He could snatch it away from Kamikaze, couldn't he?
Hang on a second. I'm very unsure now. He's going slower than anticipated here.
What was it,
I'm
8:59
reversing.
for
Yeah, I'm
Kamikaze?
reversing my opinion here. He definitely has something wrong with that car because he's definitely the rotation into there. I think he's got a puncture,
Yeah,
maybe on the
maybe so.
front even. Because I noticed, yeah, look at the corrections. Look at the corrections in the
Yep.
wheel. He has a puncture on the left-hand side of the car, I'd say, because he's having to steer to the
Yeah,
to the
no
right
way.
all the time.
No way.
And
This
that,
isn't normal
yeah,
Vlembar, is it? This isn't normal Vlembar.
no,
That it looked like a miraculous recovery, and he seemed to carry the speed quite well after it. But now I think it's popped off of him, hasn't it? And
yeah.
he's now carrying a lot of damage there, and that's just going to kill his time. We're talking, 8:59 to beat Kamikaze on this stage. Those points are going, and if someone could whisper in his ear, by the way, Quanton's crashed. You're not just racing for the power points here. You're racing for the overall win. Maybe that mindset would have changed. But Kamikaze also had his issues out there. Rode his luck better, and looks like we'll get confirmation, of course, that he could be winning round 1 of the championship here. And who knows, he could go back to back in the Creator Series, the first time that would have ever happened across any of our events here in the EA
Indeed.
Sports Creator Series.
I'm actually unsure whether it's a double puncture for Vlembar. That car is looking very bouncy and very unsteady. He's definitely got a puncture, I think, on the front right. And yeah, he might have double puncture, to be fair. It's not given a DNF, so it's probably one on the rear and one on the front. Just want to point out, obviously, Kamikaze doing the best form of damage limitation by winning, possibly. But one of the major benefiters here has been GJ.
Yes.
We haven't seen much of him on broadcast, but he has driven basically a faultless rally for the moment, and he might be set with Vlembar puncturing on this stage for a P2 overall on the Creator Series.
Yeah, so P12 is where he currently sits overall
Just
in
ahead
the
of Jean-Marc.
RaceNet standings. Ambient Mike's, of course, somewhere as well. He didn't race on the broadcast this year, but hopefully he'll be in there towards the end of this year too. But yeah, Vlembar puncturing, it very much could be curtains for a challenge. We're already a minute down on the time that Kamikaze set, so this is yeah, very tense territory, and I think losing that much time, it's more than bound to be over the top of the board, isn't it?
GJ's already passed him. He might be passed also by Jean-Marc, who's on or who would have been on broadcast if his point of view would have worked. So yeah, it's looking like Vlembar's missing out on the podium here. He's dropped behind. Yeah, he officially he loses out on the podium with that puncture, sadly. What a disaster.
That is a disaster. That is such a dramatic power stage here we've had in the Creator Series. Have we ever had a more dramatic power stage in a non-championship fight race? Of course, all the races and rallies count towards the championship, but it's not a title decided today. It's just the first round. But we've already had a huge twist there with Quanton DNFing from the stage and effectively putting his race rally chances in the bin and gifting it, some would say, to Kamikaze. But Kamikaze stayed in the fight. That's so important. 140th on the stage for Vlembar. He's going straight away 17th. So that's third, is it there? Just behind
Jean-Marc.
yeah. Is Jean-Marc out there still?
No, he has completed, and he is ahead overall of Vlembar. So Vlembar does officially miss out on the podium.
Wow!
In Creator Series,
he's fourth there, and he could have been an extra minute here. Where did he finish? So, 3 and minute 8 down.
That's P17 overall.
Yeah, I think he could have been certainly second without that puncture.
Most
Maybe
definitely.
even fighting with Kamikaze with the mistakes that Kamikaze made. JPH, he's a big loser today, isn't he? After that mistake, it's he spoke about in the interview. You just got to stay alive, and his moment off the cliff has cost him. So
49th
there.
JPH.
Yeah,
nearly 6 minutes off the pace. So yeah, that crashed, literally amounting for the majority of that time.
Top
sadly.
100 for Ancephallosis. Shout out. Phil's also 100th position. With maybe a few more hours left, he may just drop out of the top 100 places there if he's unlucky. But JPH doing a real solid here and scrolling through the whole of these. So shout out to JPH, even if no, sorry, it's Vlembar, isn't it? That we're looking at. But yeah, Jam on God in the 158th position. So
shout out to Ryan in 78th, by the way. Just found him on the leaderboard.
Yeah,
lovely stuff.
Smashing job. I tell you what, I think there's only one person we should grab in after that. Shall we grab in Well, there's two people we could grow in. Should we grow in Quantum first? Because he's been very unlucky, and it'd be good to commiserate with him.
Yeah.
Quantum, we've unfortunately watched one of the most dramatic moments in the Creator Series history. There, you would look to be surefire to win the stage and the rally overall. Maybe even have the chance of taking some power points there. Obviously, we knew where it went wrong. You went off the cliff. What's the feeling there? What's the mindset right now?
Hi everyone. The mindset for the moment is very bad. It's quite it's hurting a lot. I did a great rally. It was really cool, really fun. I think I drove well, but yeah, I don't know. To be honest, I don't know. It was the only stage of the new content that I knew well and that I love. So I knew that I was going to make a great time without pushing. But yeah, I don't know. In the first sector, I was speaking to something else, other things of the game. I don't know what the hell I was thinking, but yeah, I just didn't listen, and I forgot the corner. Fall into the into the green, and the game, instead of had me a penalty, just give me a DNF. So that's hurt because I lost everything on the last stage when I think I was able to win the rally in live, so could have been really good. So yeah, it's really bad for the moment.
Well, I guess there's a few positive things to take from it. Is that one, you have blindsided everybody in the Creator Series with your pace. So moving forwards, although you've lost some points, you've set the standards very high for the rest of the people. So they'll be worried about that. Let's put it that way. Obviously, the commitment you showed through the stages, it had, sadly had to go wrong on one point, and just cutting to the inside. I think, as you said, the knowledge that you had of the stage meant that you knew how much you could cut, and just getting it wrong by a millimeter it can lead to devastating consequences. But that's the Monte Carlo at the end of the day. It happens. But I think there's more positives for you than there are negatives, to be fair. There's a long way to go in this championship.
Yeah, definitely. It's totally true. But for the moment, I can't see the championship, and just seeing that once again I did only one mistake. I wasn't pushing. That's the more frustrating, because I wasn't pushing. I did just one little mistake, but with dramatical consequence. So I could have hit the wall, take a puncture, or take 30-second penalty. That would be great, but a DNF, it's hard to accept for the moment. But yeah, like you said, it's Monte Carlo. It's part of the rally. I should have been more focused until the end, and I fell on this, so it's my bad. And yeah, I will come back stronger for the next rally.
I think what he needs, Gareth, is a sign above his simulator saying, "If in doubt, flat out." So that way he pushes to the end.
That's it. You got to go full kamikaze in the Creator Series, and it can bring you a championship or two. But I mean, if you're gonna have a DNF, it's better to get it out of the way round one. Also, not a full DNF. You will have picked up points, not the full points, of course, for the Creator standings. Do you feel like you can bounce back from this one? Looking ahead at some of the rallies that we have in the Creator Series, do you feel like, even with this this hard moment right now, that there's room to come back and fight for this one?
Yeah, I think it's possible, but I will have to practice then, because the other rally I don't know very well. This one I knew almost all the stage, so I didn't practice, and it was still good because I had a good feeling. But the next rally I don't know the stage, so if I want to fight back, I will have to prepare a little more.
Well,
I'll speak as one on broadcast. He underestimates his power.
Yeah, I didn't really practice that one. Nearly run by a country mile. I think you'll be in fine hands, Quantum. You'll bounce back from this one. But
I hope so.
Unlucky nonetheless. And so sorry to see your rally end like that. But I'm sure you'll be fighting back. Thank you very much for joining us in the booth, and we look forward to seeing you rallying out there for the rest of the season.
Thank you, guys. Have a good evening. Thanks.
Just so dejected. But as I just said, he said, "Oh, that's the one I knew. I didn't really practice for it." He just he was going to crush the morale. It was kind of Ayrton Senna, 1986 or 88 or whatever it was at Monaco, when he was just pushing just that little bit too far. But actually, what he said was that he just wasn't full temps. And yeah, I think you've said this to me in the past, that if you're not driving 10 temps, that's when the mistakes can actually start to creep in, because you don't know the line at 90% throttle through there. You don't know how the car will react, what little dips and bumps there are. So maybe just a lesson to just to try and throw caution to the wind a little bit more.
Yeah, I think it's that thing of knowing the stages. You've done them in time trial a lot. You've done them in different conditions, and so with stuff like tire wear and maybe a bit of damage on the car that you picked up just by tagging, I don't know, a rock or a barrier somewhere, it can change what the car does into the corner. And if you go into like autopilot mode, it can just mean that you're a couple of millimeters off the ideal line. And while in time trial that's not a big deal, you can press restart. When you get into any type of event where you can only get one try, you have to sort of keep focused. That's one of the most difficult things at the end of the day in rally, is that it's almost like an endurance event, really. And so I've been there, done that, got the t-shirt, as they say. I know how frustrating it is to make a silly mistake where you think that hasn't happened in 100 tries, and on the one that it counts, it happens. I know for a fact that Content wanted to win this rally in particular, and so that's why it's very difficult. I'm just looking at the other perspectives. Vlembar got the puncture from hitting a rock on the side of the road, and he got spun around by it, but it was an instant puncture from what I'm seeing here on the replay. Yeah, he's ironically he's just
I think he just went away from it.
He's just exited out from it, but essentially it was in a straight line. Let me describe it. It was in a straight line going downhill. It was just going to the outside of the corner, just in the braking zone, and literally by a millimeter, I'd say, just clipped the rock, and that was enough to give him a puncture. So that's very unfortunate for Vlembar.
Shall we have a quick interview with the man who downplayed his chances mightily, and I think no one thought he'd be winning going into that final stage. It's Kamikaze. You must be feeling pretty happy right now.
I have no words. Really? Sorry, I have no words. I'm so sorry for Quinten. He was pretty fast today, a little rocket. So yep, I was pushing like hell the last 3 stages, so I have no words.
But it certainly seemed like everybody was pushing to try and beat Contan on the power stage, not knowing that Contan had a crash. And from what we saw, you were on past the limit, let's say. So you must be feeling pretty lucky that you got to the end of that one with no major damage.
Yeah, I think I had 3 spins or something. So yeah, I was definitely pushing. I know the weakness of the Toyota. The rocks are a nightmare. So yeah, I had no chance to just send it. So if I'm gonna fight for some points.
Yeah, I was going to say Vlembar, just on that note, Vlembar, it got a puncture on the rock, just in a straight line. Went to the edge of the corner, just clipped a rock by about, I don't know, a millimeter or 2, and puncture for at least half of the stage, I think. So yeah, I mean, as we said, it's the Monte Carlo is just making less mistakes than other people, and you may have made mistakes, but certainly none of them were as big as the others. So, consistency is key, as you said.
Yeah, especially on this rally. I don't like it. I don't feel confident on ice. So, as I said earlier, I just need to take what I get. And today is, I think it's top spot in the Creator Series or something.
It certainly looks like it at this juncture, doesn't it? Unless Punji comes along and whips you all in the final moments here. But you said you don't like this one. You've got Rally Finland coming up, Rally Sweden, Rally Portugal. Some pretty loose and goosey rallies coming up. I feel like that's more your your vibe, your tempo? Do you think you could be going back to back here in the Creator Series Championship wise?
We will give it a try. For sure, Finland is one of I looking forward to, but Sweden is my main goal. We need to win there for Scandinavians.
And next week, of course, we're trying the new World Rally Car 2012 to 2016 class out. Of course, you had a little bit of experience of that in the broadcast last week. Have you had much chance playing around with those cars over the last week?
I had some little testing, but mainly focus this week has been WRC2 because I don't have so much time on the rig anymore. As we tried last week, was my first time in the rig for 2 months, so we just need to get confident back in the car and in the rig as well. So we will test it more this week, upcoming week.
Well, fantastic to hear from you, and we will speak to you in the later weeks. And if that's for you with very little practice, then it could be a very fascinating championship battle this year. Thank you very much, Chemical.
Thank you, and a good job for all the creators. And one little shout out is to my new teammate, EXR Tristan. He's new on the team today, so
Oh, wow.
wish him the best of luck.
There we are. The XR brand repping. He made sure that I got that clan tag in before the broadcast. It was
Yes.
missing. He represented it. So get some extra bucks from your team for that one. But again, thank you very much, Thomas, and speak to you soon. But yeah, I mean, that's it, isn't it? He's confident, isn't he? I don't know. He's secretly confident.
I just want to note, if this was a real world championship, let's say, all of the teams would be wonderfully under budgeted because there's apparently no testing going on in the background from all of our drivers. I don't believe that for one single minute, I must say. There is definitely some testing going on and drivers trying to play the psychological game, that's for sure. But at the moment, it seems like it's Kamikaze's world, and we're just living in it for the moment on the Creator Series. He's started it off as he started last season, and it's certainly looking like it's going strong for him. But with the pace that people are showing, it looks like we have at least 3, if not 4, contenders for the championship. So it's about to get very spicy in the next few rounds, I think.
Yeah, very spicy indeed. Let's wrap this show up then, shall we? Where can we find you normally, Isa, when you're not here on the Creator Series?
In the tag is musing right down there. And you can usually find me, well, probably slipping on ice and crashing into a tree, despite my best efforts and despite me saying on broadcast that you shouldn't do that. But it's a case of do as I say, not as I do, I guess.
Yeah, you can find me at Gareth Allen TV over on Blue Sky. I haven't posted there in about a month and a half, but it's the social media I will be using going forward. We also have all of our other gubbins up there from Creator Series if you want to give that a follow.
Yeah, very important to do so. And anyway, what a first round to have. Hey, we had everything. We had the ice, we had the tarmac, we had the rocks, we had the trees, we had the cliffs, we had the ravines. It's Monte Carlo. But that's only the first leg of the journey. And indeed, if you want to carry on watching that journey, stay tuned next week for more thrills and spills on this new season of Creator Series. But until then, just want to say thank you ever so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed it and see you next time. Bye bye for now.